In a Neolithic graveyard in South Asia, there is a molar with 2 holes drilled into it, perfectly round, 0.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeters deep, made with a flint-tipped drill. The tooth is up to 9,000 years old. And here's the part that should bother you. The edges of those holes are worn smooth, polished, which means after the drilling was done, the person kept chewing on that tooth. For years. They were alive when it happened. You've probably had a toothache. You know it's not really pain in the normal sense. It's pain with no off switch. It doesn't respond to how you sit or lie down. It doesn't get better if you stay still. It's a nerve screaming from inside a sealed bone chamber 6 inches from your brain. Now take away ibuprofen, take away antibiotics, take away anesthetic. That was the default human condition for essentially all of our history, not for a few unlucky people, for everyone. So the question isn't whether ancient humans got toothaches, it's what on earth they did about them. And the answer is much more than you'd think. Some of it worked. Some of it is genuinely hard to look at. There's a story you've probably absorbed. Hunter-gatherers had flawless teeth, and then farming and sugar ruined our mouths. It's about half true. Across the archaeological record, farming populations show cavities in anywhere from 2 to 48% of teeth. Hunter-gatherers generally sit between 0 and 14%, generally. Then there's a cave in Morocco called Grotte des Pigeons at Taferelt, 15,000 years old, thousands of years before anyone farmed anything. Researchers examined the jaws of 52 adults buried there. 51% of their teeth had cavities. 49 out of 52 individuals were affected. Only 3 people in that entire cemetery had healthy teeth. That's a cavity rate comparable to a modern industrialized population living on refined sugar. What were they eating? Acorns, pine nuts, sweet holm oak acorns, harvested green, stored in baskets until they got sweeter, then pounded on stones into a sticky paste that clung to their teeth and fed the bacteria in their mouths. They didn't need agriculture to wreck their teeth. They just needed carbohydrates and a grindstone. And the abscesses followed. In the oldest adults at Taferelt, nearly 1 in 5 tooth sockets showed an abscess, a pocket of infection eating into the jawbone itself. This is the part people skip. A cavity is a hole. When that hole reaches the pulp, the nerve and blood supply at the center of the tooth, bacteria get into a space the body can't flush out. The pressure builds inside a chamber made of solid enamel. That's the pain. Then the infection looks for an exit. It dissolves bone. It moves into the jaw, the sinuses, sometimes the soft tissue of the neck. There's a condition called Ludwig's angina, where a dental infection spreads into the floor of the mouth and swells the airway shut. Before antibiotics, it killed more than half the people who got it. So when we ask how ancient humans handled toothache, we are not asking about discomfort. We're asking how they handled something that could kill them, and often did, slowly from a hole in a tooth. That pressure is why they started experimenting. Croatia, Croatia, 130,000 years ago. 4 teeth from the lower left side of one Neanderthal's mouth, an individual researchers call dental person 20. 2 of those teeth are out of position. A premolar rotated in its socket, and a third molar, only partly erupted, jammed. If you've had a wisdom tooth come in badly, you know exactly what that feels like. And on those teeth, under a microscope, researchers found 6 toothpick grooves, scratches in the dentin, chips in the enamel on the tongue side, at different angles, the pattern you get from something being pushed into the mouth, repeatedly, deliberately, over a long period. We don't know what they used. A bone sliver, a stiff grass stem, something. What we do know is that 130,000 years ago, someone with a jammed molar sat there, over and over, trying to dig at the thing that was hurting them. Toothpick grooves in the fossil record go back nearly 2 million years. Poking at a sore tooth may be one of the oldest medical behaviors our lineage has. El Sidrón, northern Spain, 50,000 years ago. Researchers sequenced DNA trapped in the hardened plaque on Neanderthal teeth, tartar, which fossilizes and locks in everything that passed through the mouth. One individual had a dental abscess. You can see it in the bone. In his tartar, they found DNA from poplar, Poplar bark contains salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin. They also found penicillium mold, the source of penicillin. Now, an important caveat. Nobody can prove he understood why they helped. He wasn't dosing himself, but of everything he could have been chewing. This man with an infected tooth was chewing bark that contains a painkiller and mold that produces an antibiotic. Either that's a coincidence, or 50,000 years ago, someone worked out that chewing a particular tree made their face hurt less, and then told somebody. Reparo Freddi in Tuscany, Italy, 13,000 years ago. 2 front teeth from one adult. Both have large holes running down into the pulp chamber, and on the inside walls of those holes, tiny horizontal striations, tool marks. Someone widened those cavities out with a stone point. That alone would be remarkable, but the holes also contain traces of bitumen, natural tar, mixed with plant fibers and hair, packed in at the same time as the drilling. That is a filling, the oldest one we know of. Drill out the decay. Seal the hole. Keep food and air off the exposed nerve. The same logic your dentist uses now, 13,000 years earlier, with tar. Which brings us back to those drilled molars in Pakistan. 11 of them from 9 different people over roughly 1,500 years. So this wasn't one eccentric. It was a practice. They were all first or second permanent molars, too far back in the mouth to be decoration. 4 showed decay next to the hole. Researchers rebuilt a flint bow drill, the same kind used at the site for making beads, and found they could produce an identical hole in under a minute. Under a minute, sitting still, fully conscious, while someone spins a stone point through your molar. We still don't know for certain whether it eased the pain or made it worse, but somebody agreed to it. And then, judging by the polish on those holes, got up and went back to eating. For most of history, we didn't know what caused any of this. Cultures across the world, Mesopotamia, China, medieval Europe, independently landed on the same explanation: a worm, something alive, burrowing in the tooth. A Babylonian text describes the worm being made from the mud of the marsh and asking the gods for a place to live. Lift me up, and among the teeth, and the gums cause me to dwell. The blood of the tooth I will suck, and of the gum I will gnaw its roots. They were wrong about the worm, but they were right that something was in there, eating them. And they were right about something else, too. The instinct to reach into your own mouth and do something, to poke, to chew bark, to let a man with a flint drill try. That's not modern. That's not medicine arriving in the 1800s. That's 130,000 years old minimum. Every one of us has an ancestor who died of a tooth, and every one of us has an ancestor who tried very hard not to, which raises a bigger question. If they were solving this 13,000 years ago, what else were they treating that we haven't found yet?